Welcome to episode 6 and 7 of Relics of the Ancients Behind the Screens. My name is Brian, and welcome to our show. I'm going to go over what happened with both of these episodes of the Relics of the Ancients campaign. So we'll kind of be putting both of these together into one. If you are one of my players, don't watch. If you are everyone else, let's get rolling. Okay, so we start with this session basically right up after what happened previously. So with this one, they had cleared the first level, fought some zombies basically, and then they went into the next lower level, which was sort of the basement of the tower, and this time they found a desecrated shrine, and they were noticing that there was some trickling sort of sludge that was going to this spike in the floor called a gloom spike, or at least that's what I'm calling it. And so this was their chance of finding out what's going on and investigating. With this session, they did go in and they used their wand that they found in the previous they used the wand that they found on the previous level, Wand of Mending, to fix the shrine itself, which then ceased the flow of this darkish liquid that was kind of feeding into this gloom spike. After sort of investigating a little bit further, they went up the stairs again, and Henrik, I believe, sent Bryn his familiar. And Bryn noticed that there was some type of movement, and so they noticed someone upstairs, so they went up to the next level, or after kind of trying to parlay with them a little bit, and found that it was actually, in fact, Cheddar Kilborn that was on that level, and it seemed as if he was completely corrupted by the Gloom Spike, and so he actually attempted to recruit them to the Shadow Seekers and said he's not going to return to Grand Ridge, he's not going to go speak with his father again, stuff that the party wasn't really forcing him to do. He just kind of came out and said that, which tipped his hand a little bit. So there was a battle. They tried negotiations, didn't really work, as often happens, and the fight started. So it brought them to the top of the tower, where there was an orb. One of the ones that they noticed was the exact orb that was taken from the casino in Grand Ridge that may have belonged to Cheddar Kilborn's father. So there was a connection there. They're still not sure what's going on. After that battle, or during that battle, it was actually Allura that tried to shoot the orb from Cherdic's hand, and it didn't work. But immediately when that happened, it awakened the talum on her arm, which uncoiled, formed into a bow of itself, and kind of drew and let her shoot again. And this time it was arcane energy, the silvery energy that did, in fact, when she rolled this time, it actually hit the orb, knocked it out of the hand, and did damage to Cherdic, which took him out. And so they were able to recover this relic. They kind of took their time in trying to check him and do some other things. And because of that, in this case, and you can kind of see here that if the orb is separated from him, he had to make a con save, DC 18, or take 25 points of damage, which is one of the things that also increased the damage to him when he got shot, and he automatically failed a death save if he went down, and he did. So by the time the death saves were completed for him, I ran him just as I would a PC, just because I thought it would be interesting, but also to give them a chance to bring him back alive if they wanted. They didn't get a chance to do that, because after as much time as it took for them to talk to him, he was actually dead by that point. So they did search him, and they found, in addition to his sword and some gold, that there were some pages removed from his father's journal. So that was basically, I read some highlights of that where they got a little bit into that, but the rest of it kind of picks up directly from there in the next session, which is why luckily this worked really well together. So I recapped that session. I went through. It's important to note here that I did reach out trying to get the encounter response from everybody in between sessions, and I couldn't get everything from them. So normally when that happens, I try to, or we run out of time, or whatever the case is, I try to send an email and ask some questions and try to get, how do they feel about things? What do they think is going to happen next? And what is their final decision? What are they going to choose? There was talk about them taking him back. There was talk about them going potentially to Grand Ridge, but they weren't sure. So I tried to find out what they wanted to do in between sessions. And when I can't find that information, I default to starting exactly where they left off, because I never want to railroad the campaign and make them choose certain things. So it worked out in this case because they picked up right where they left off, and it gave me a chance to also have one of the unseen people that were there this whole time that was kind of orchestrating things, Zrisha, show herself. And so this has worked out in my favor a little bit, because they were actually able to encounter one of the biggest bad guys in the campaign early, and gave them a little taste of what she's capable of and what they're up against, which I thought was great. So we recapped a few things, one of which was the different things that they found. I'll scroll back up. So the notes about notes in the journal, I should say. Jodic is not one of us. I tried to raise him correctly, but he's having issues. I also gave dates to emphasize that these happened over a very long period of time. No matter what, we can't let them fall into the wrong hands, especially at House of Vanamir. This tied it directly to Melanie's character, Allura. Interesting to note that, if you guys might remember, the very beginning of the campaign, so I'm gonna actually show you in this first pre-session. So this was kind of going for a while. In this first pre-session, one of the things I did to help pull in Melanie's character was that she got a letter saying that she was a secret child of wealthy noble and empire. This is something that she rolled when she did this, and so the family member that sent her the letter, so if you guys remember during my character prologue process, they can roll on certain things, and when they did this, she rolled this, and I tied this into the campaign immediately. So her family member was the High General Oros Vanamir of the Imperial Army. At any rate, Zrisha was wanting to get the orb back. They battled. Zrisha was fighting back and forth. What I just gave as a cutoff, it was just kind of ambiguous in my mind, but I knew that after she took a significant amount of damage, she was going to get out of there. In full disclosure, there's no way that I think they would have been able to take her down at the level that they were in now, not just the game level, but they hadn't even had a long rest. They weren't at full ability, weren't at full spell slots and everything else. So the good news about that is that they may think they have a better chance if they have all those things, which may be true. They also may think that she's just stronger, and they don't know how much damage they did, really. They don't know why she left yet, other than she got out of there. So I think it's interesting, and it's sort of a good hook to at least give a chance for the characters to see what potentially they might be up against. And there's nothing wrong with the bad guys running away sometimes, and I think it gives them sort of the feeling of, ooh, they slipped through our fingers, and then it's just that much sweeter when they get a chance to catch them and beat them. So this was it. This was the last two sessions, and you may remember at the end of that session is when it gave me the opportunity to give them a little bit of homework. How did they feel? What do they think was going to happen next? And what was the group's final choice of where they're going? So as a DM, if you feel like the pacing is a little off and you want to fast travel somewhere, or you want to give them a breather, it's okay to change the flow. And this is one of the things I like to do, is ask them, okay, now if you've got a breather, what would you plan to do now? Would you travel somewhere? Would you do other things? And so there was a message, a sending sent in this game that they couldn't reply to. I repeated another sending by the NPC Spiros, who said, hey, I'm still worried about you. You didn't reply. I'll be in this town. in 2 days. So why don't you meet me? And if you're able to. So this is giving them a chance to respond to that and do those things. So we're going to jump a couple days into the future at least and pick up and kind of tell you how things went. But it's all based on the choices they were going to make. They can flow with those choices right into actual play into the game. So that's where we are. Thanks again for watching. Hopefully you're following with us and you will pick up with our next session. Cheers.